So if you've played a video game pretty much any time in the last decade, you've definitely run into a loot box. That little digital treasure chest has exploded into a multi-billion-dollar business, and it's kicking off a massive global fight. We're talking gamers, governments, and game companies all going head-to-head. So what is all the fuss really about?
And really, it all boils down to this one simple, tantalizing question. That feeling, the thrill of not knowing what you're going to get, the hope for that legendary item. That's the hook. But now you've got regulators who are starting to pry that box open. And they're asking a tough question. Is this just a bit of harmless fun? Or is it something way more complicated?
Okay, so let's just be clear on what we're talking about. A loot box is basically a virtual grab bag, right? A mystery package you buy inside a game. You drop some money, could be real cash, could be the game's own currency, and boom, you get a random bunch of digital stuff in return.
And the amount of money we're talking about here is, well, it's staggering. Get ready for this number. Some studies are showing that a tiny fraction of players, we're talking just 1%, can account for over 70% of all the money a game makes from loot boxes. Think about that. This isn't some side hustle for these companies. For a lot of them, this is the business.
All right, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to really unpack this whole thing. First up, we'll look at the basics of this virtual treasure chest. Then we dive right into the big debate. Is it gaming or is it gambling? After that, we'll take a quick trip around the world to see the patchwork of rules out there. We've got a really wild case study I'm calling the billion-dollar secret. And finally, we'll look ahead to the future of fair play.
Okay, let's kick things off with part one, the virtual treasure chest. Let's dig into how this one little mechanic just blew up into a multi-billion-dollar industry.
So, the stuff you get from these boxes, it's all over the place. I mean, it could be something as simple as a cool-looking cosmetic skin, just to change up your character's look. Or it could be some seriously powerful, game-changing gear that gives you a massive leg up on the competition. But here's the thing. No matter what the prize is, the one constant, the real secret sauce here, is chance. You just never, ever know what you're going to get.
And that very idea, that element of pure chance, well, that's what leads us straight to the heart of the whole controversy. Is this gaming or is it gambling? This one question is what this is all about.
So, you've got two camps, right? On one side, you have the critics. They say, look, you're spending real money for a random outcome. That's gambling. End of story. But then, on the other side, you've got the game companies pushing back. Their argument is that the virtual items you win, well, they don't have any real-world monetary value. You can't just cash them out at a bank. So they say it doesn't legally count as gambling. It's just a game mechanic.
And this is where it gets really tricky, because even the experts are kind of scratching their heads. This quote from Tim Miller, who's with the UK Gambling Commission, just nails it. He said, "The boundaries between products which can be defined and regulated as gambling are becoming increasingly blurred. Basically, the line in the sand is washing away."
So, because that line is so blurry, governments all over the world are being forced to step in. And what we've ended up with is this crazy patchwork of different rules. Let's go on a little world tour and see how different places are trying to handle this.
And what you'll see right away is there is absolutely no agreement on how to do this. I mean, look at Belgium. They just straight up banned paid loot boxes, called them illegal gambling, done. Then you hop over to China, and they've taken a totally different route. They demand transparency. Companies have to publish the odds for every single item. Then there's the UK, which basically said, hey, industry, you guys police yourselves. And the US? It's just a mess, a state-by-state free-for-all with no federal law at all.
I mean, just look at the difference between Belgium and the UK. It's night and day, right? Belgium came in with a sledgehammer and just brought down a total ban. Meanwhile, the UK took a completely hands-off approach and just told the industry, you guys figure it out. It really shows you how wildly different the thinking is from one government to the next about how serious this is and what to do about it.
And it's because everything is so fragmented and inconsistent that the European Parliament is stepping in. They're basically saying, okay, enough of this. We need one set of rules for the entire EU. The goal is to get past all these individual country debates and just create a single approach that's all about protecting consumers, especially kids. But, while some governments are busy debating, others have decided to force the issue. And that has led to one of the most fascinating and revealing case studies yet. We're calling this one the billion-dollar secret.
All right, so let's go to South Korea. It's a huge market for gaming. And they passed a new law. The rule was dead simple.
If you sell these random items, they often call them gotcha there. You have to tell players the exact odds of getting every single item. That's it. Just be transparent.
What happened next, though, was pretty shocking. You'd think they'd just publish the odds, right? Nope. Instead of complying, the gaming giant EA did something nobody expected. They pulled their entire microtransaction system from their games in Korea. I mean, they literally chose to make zero money rather than show people the odds. And you can bet players noticed. The reaction was instant, and it was not good for EA. This quote from a Reddit user pretty much sums up how everyone felt. So they rather remove something that makes them a lot of money than to leak the chances? That says a lot about just how rigged their stuff is. I mean, it's a fair question, right? It made everyone wonder, just how bad were those odds?
And that huge backlash really brings us to our final section. What is the future of fair play? Where do we go from here?
Well, if you look at the global conversation, a general consensus seems to be forming around a few key ideas for better regulation. Things like, making probability disclosures mandatory, like they do in China and South Korea, putting clear labels on games that have these in-game purchases, giving players options to set their own spending limits, and of course, having really strong parental controls. It's all about giving players more info and, frankly, more control over their own money.
And I think this is the most important takeaway. The whole conversation is shifting. It's less and less about the very specific legal definition of is it or isn't it gambling, and it's becoming much more about a bigger, more practical question: how do we protect people, especially kids, from designs that could be harmful or manipulative? The focus is shifting to consumer protection, plain and simple.
Which leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. Is transparency enough? Is just showing people the odds going to solve this? Or do we need to go further? Should games with these kinds of mechanics be treated just like actual gambling and get a strict 18+ rating? Right now, the future of fair play is still very much up for grabs.